Once upon a time, in a small village nestled between vast fields of wheat and rice, there lived a young boy named Rohan. Rohan's life wasn't easy. His father had passed away when he was just a child, and his mother had remarried a man named Mr. Sharma, who had a son of his own from a previous marriage, named Vikram. Rohan's stepfather, Mr. Sharma, was a wealthy businessman in the village. He owned a large portion of the land and several shops in the market. However, despite his wealth, Mr. Sharma was known for his greedy nature. He cared little for anyone's well-being except his own and that of his biological son Vikram. Vikram, spoiled by his father's wealth and favoritism, grew up to be arrogant and lazy. He never lifted a finger to help with any household chores or contribute to the family's businesses. On the other hand, Rohan, despite being the stepson, was always given tasks to complete, from helping with the household chores to working in the fields and shops. Despite the hardships, Rohan's mother ensured he got some education. She believed that education was the key to a better life. Rohan, being diligent and hardworking, excelled in his studies. He would often help his classmates with their studies, especially in mathematics and science, subjects he had a knack for. As time passed, Vikram's laziness and arrogance only grew. He would often boast about his family's wealth and look down upon those who worked hard for their living. Rohan, on the other hand, became more humble and kind. He used his knowledge to help the villagers with various problems, from fixing broken machinery to advising on agricultural practices. One day, a severe famine hit the land. Crops began to wither away, and the rivers dried up. The villagers, who were mostly farmers, found themselves struggling to make ends meet. Mr. Sharma, seeing an opportunity to increase his wealth, hoarded food grains and other essential supplies. He planned to sell them at exorbitant prices when the scarcity increased. Rohan, witnessing the suffering of the villagers and understanding the gravity of the situation, tried to reason with his stepfather. He explained that hoarding would only worsen the situation for the poor and could lead to unrest among the villagers. However, Mr. Sharma wouldn't listen. Vikram, following his father's footsteps, also showed no empathy towards the struggling villagers. As the famine worsened, the villagers grew hungrier and more desperate. Rohan, seeing no other way, decided to take matters into his own hands. He used his knowledge to find ways to conserve what little water was left and to cultivate crops that required less water. He shared his findings with the villagers, and together, they started working on a plan to sustain themselves through the difficult times. Meanwhile, Mr. Sharma's warehouses were filled with hoarded supplies. But as the villagers became more united and resourceful under Rohan's guidance, the demand for Mr. Sharma's supplies began to dwindle. Realizing his plan wasn't working as expected, Mr. Sharma grew angrier and more greedy. He started selling his supplies to people from neighboring villages at high prices, making a fortune but also making many enemies. Vikram, who had grown accustomed to a life of luxury, couldn't handle the change in their fortunes. He became frustrated with the lack of luxuries and blamed Rohan for their situation, not realizing it was their father's greed that had led to their downfall. As the months passed, the villagers, with Rohan's help, managed to create sustainable systems for food and water. They started trading what they could with neighboring villages, slowly rebuilding their community. Mr. Sharma and Vikram, however, faced backlash from both the villagers and the people from the neighboring villages who had bought supplies from them at high prices. The villagers, who had once looked up to Mr. Sharma as a leader, now shunned him and his son. The family's reputation was tarnished, and their businesses began to suffer. Mr. Sharma, realizing too late the error of his ways, tried to mend relationships, but the damage was done. Rohan, despite being the stepson, became a hero in the village. People praised his kindness, intelligence, and hard work. He continued to help the villagers, and his reputation spread far and wide. Seeing the change in the village's fortune and realizing his mistakes, Mr. Sharma fell ill. Rohan, despite everything, took care of his stepfather, nursing him back to health. This act of kindness made Mr. Sharma reflect on his behavior. He apologized to Rohan for treating him poorly and promised to change. Vikram, however, was a different story. He couldn't accept that Rohan was the reason for the family's downfall and the villagers' admiration. He left the village, determined to make a name for himself elsewhere, but without learning the values of hard work and kindness. He struggled. Years went by, and Rohan continued to thrive. He became a leader in the village, known for his fairness and wisdom. Mr. Sharma, humbled by his experiences, became a better person, working alongside Rohan to build a prosperous and fair community. The story of Rohan and his stepfather became a moral tale told to children, teaching them the value of hard work, kindness, and the dangers of greed. Rohan's story showed that true wealth lies not in material possessions but in the relationships we build and the positive impact we have on others' lives. Rohan's mother, happy to see her son thrive, smiled knowing her insistence on education and her marriage to Mr. Sharma had led to Rohan's growth in ways she had hoped for. She saw Vikram occasionally, but the son she was proud of was Rohan, the boy who had turned hardships into stepping stones. The villagers celebrated Rohan's birthday every year, honoring his contributions to their lives. Rohan would always say, "I'm just one of you and we've achieved this together." And the villagers would smile, knowing that Rohan's humility was as great as his kindness. As the years passed, the village prospered, becoming a model for neighboring villages. People would come from far and wide to seek Rohan's advice on agriculture, water conservation, and community building. Rohan, with his stepfather's help, ensured that the village remained a place where everyone had enough to eat and a chance to thrive. The story of the greedy brother and the hunger of the poor became a reminder of what happens when greed overtakes humanity. But more importantly, it highlighted the transformative power of kindness, hard work, and humility. That Rohan's life wasn't without challenges, but he faced each one with courage and determination. He knew that every problem had a solution and that together, the villagers could overcome anything. And so, the narrative of Rohan, the poor stepson who became a beacon of hope for his community, continued to inspire generations. It was a testament to the fact that one's background doesn't define their destiny. Rather, it's their actions and the choices they make that truly matter. As the years went by, Rohan's village continued to flourish. He married a kind-hearted woman named Aisha, who was a skilled healer. Together they had 2 children, a boy and a girl, whom they raised with the same values of hard work, kindness, and humility.